The late 1990s saw a seismic shift in the landscape of guitar amplification. Musicians were seeking more than just raw power, they craved versatility and convenience without compromising tone. Enter Line6, a company already renowned for its groundbreaking digital modeling technology, and in 2002, Line6 unleashed the Vetta 2 amplifier onto the world stage. This was more than just an amplifier, it was a true sonic arsenal. Packed with an array of meticulously crafted amplifier models, effects, and endless tonal possibilities, the Vetta 2 broke down the barriers between classic and modern, analog and digital. Now, Line6 has discontinued these amplifiers and also the DT series that came after, but how has the Vetta 2 held up, and is it still usable today? The Vetta 2 was the successor to the popular Vetta, obviously, but let's continue. The Vetta 2 had some new tricks up its sleeves, or its chassis. I don't know how to segue here. Building on the foundation of the original Vetta, the Vetta 2 introduced significant improvements in modeling technology. The amp models and effects were more refined and closer in sound to their analog counterparts. This resulted in better realism, tonal accuracy, and overall more convincing emulation of classic amplifiers and effects. The Vetta 2 also offered a larger selection of amp models, effects, and routing options. Musicians can now create complex signal chains, experiment with different combinations, and finally tweak their tones to a greater extent. With improved processing power, the Vetta 2 allowed for more complex and rich effects configurations. Musicians could use multiple effects simultaneously without sacrificing sound quality or responsiveness. Line6 also addressed user feedback and improved the design and the interface of the Vetta 2. The layout became more intuitive, making it easier for musicians to navigate the numerous options and features, and to me, this is one of the best user interfaces that they've ever designed. It really limits any sort of deep menu diving, but still gives you all the power that comes from traditional modelers. So now that you know how it differs from the Vetta 1, let's read the specs. The Vetta 2 is 300 watts and offers full power into 4, 8, or 16 ohm loads. It is stereo and can power up to 4 4x12 cabinets, which is way excessive in my opinion. You have 70 plus classic and modern amp models, 27 speaker and cabinet models, 50 stompbox and studio effects models, AIR technology which adjusts the room ambience for your digital cabinets, wet, dry cabinet support, a whole buttload of in and out options. I mean, look at all this. And one of the coolest and most important features of the time, dual amp mode, meaning you can run 2 amps at the same time and blend them together. You also had a ton of flexibility with the Mac or the PC editors and by adding one of the Line6 FBV boards to it as well. When these amps released, I was so obsessed with them, mostly because of the band The Faceless, but I just thought they sounded really good, and the idea I could have so many tones in one head was really mind-blowing. At the time, I was just using my PV-XXX head, and I was woefully ignorant of what was happening with Line6 and digital amp modeling. The only amp modeler that I knew of was the old Bean, and I just didn't really have great experiences with it. So to me, if you wanted actual guitar tones, you needed a full-size amp head, and in terms of what I viewed as fringe guitar technology, the Vetta 2 stood out among everything else. So I finally added one of these to my collection like 20 years later, and I thought we could plug it in, feed it some chugs, and then pontificate our collective orbs to see if these amps still have a future, or if by today's standards they are just huge piles of garbage. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Taylor. We're plugged into the 𝗦𝗡 Vetta 2 head, a blast from the past. Something I always really wanted here. And if you're asking yourself, hey, why do you have this old amp on your channel? I don't know. This is nostalgia. I got the nostalgia bug. Okay, not a 𝗦𝗍𝗃 anything. It's a 𝗦𝗡 Vetta 2 head. Dude, this thing, just coincidentally, I had that 𝗦𝗡 video do really well, and I saw a comment on there like, hey, when's the Vetta video? Soft spot for me because I wanted one of these amps so bad when they were popular, and I just couldn't afford one. And so I was like, let me see if there's any used right now. I mean, they actually packed this thing really well. Look at all this. Jesus. This was listed as in good condition. Let's find out. That's not a good sign. You can hear something sliding around inside of it. Holy shit, I'm gonna have to take this thing apart. I mean, all things considered though, it's not in that bad a shape. I wouldn't say this is in good shape though. You know what I mean? I feel like they had it listed as in good shape. Let's plug it in and see if it actually works. That will be the deciding factor, right? First moment of truth, let's see if it actually turns on. All right, it powered on. Now let's see if we get any. That was a lot of pop. Look at the. Oh man, this takes me back. This takes me back. Badass. Okay, more truth. I think we got a dud. All right, so I was gonna return this thing, and I got a bug up my ass because it turned on, right? You know, there was like some sort of popping sound that you could hear through the speakers. And so I was like, you know, it's got to be something simple. It's got to be maybe it's a setting inside. It wasn't that, but it's like maybe it's a setting inside or something. So I got a bug up my ass and actually took the whole thing apart and figured out what was going on with it. Let me show you. So inside the Vetta amplifier, let me make sure it's unplugged. It's unplugged. Inside, there are several. I gotta plug that back in. This is for the guitar input. PCB goes in over there. Don't forget that. There are several of these ribbon cables, and this one right here, which connects. This is like the processor board, right? And it's got the battery here for the memory. So the ribbon cable that connects the processor board to this board over here, which is for all of the outputs, and then this would be the power amp section. The power amp was also still kind of loose, but there's missing bolts on both sides for these posts. I found one of them. One of them was inside the amp. One is lost, so this amp has been opened up and messed with. You can tell by all the goop on here too. But anyways, yeah, this thing was just unplugged. So plugged it back in, and I think that's problem solved. This thing's so dirty. My hands are so dirty, you know? But anyways, yeah, plugged it back in. This problem solved. Look at this. It's an interesting solution to this problem. This is ground wire. This is ground wire, and this is ferrite. So like, someone just wrapped this ground wire around this ferrite and just like left it dangling in here, which I don't think that's the way they do it at the factory. I don't really know, but I thought it was a weird kind of way to deal with the problem of ground hum. Okay, so we should get sound now. In In my last video on the 𝗦𝗡𝗃𝗏 HD100, I had some people ask about this amp too, and it made me curious, which is how I found it in the first place, which is why it's here now. There's the backstory. You know, what was really cool about this amplifier, like you can see here, you know, from the first thing that comes after your guitar input, the amp buttons, turning the amps on and off, you can run 2 amplifiers at the same time. This is the setup that I had for the demo song that you guys just heard. Let's turn these amps off and you can hear them individually. This is 𝗦𝗡𝗃𝗏𝗡𝗧. The LCD screen is like so contrasty that I can only see it if I like put my head like this. I'm apologizing in advance for not looking at you while that's happening. But this is the 𝗦𝗡𝗃𝗏𝗡𝗧. You can hear, man, I am using this for like the mid section of the sound. You know, it sounds very Marshall-y, mid-bass. You can see how I have it dialed in. Cut a lot of that bass out of it because the bass is kind of woofy. Let's hear the Mesa Boogie on its own. This is the diamond plate, which I believe is the triple rectifier. A tone that just screams nu metal. And, you know, and then when you put them together, you get something that I need to turn down preemptively because it's gonna be loud. Here's both of them together. I am boosting that. Again, the user interface on this amp is awesome. I really like this interface because it just limits your need to go in and really deep menu dive, which is nice after you've used an 𝗦𝗡𝗃𝗏𝗃 for a while. But you know, this is just a tube screamer in the stomp box section there. You know, boost the amp in the way that you would expect it to boost the amplifier. Now, I have noticed with this generation of 𝗦6 products, like, you know, the Pod XT, then later the X3, and even the HD for that matter, the distortion character, like the gain structure, gets really weird. You know, when you turn it up, when you add too much gain to it, you almost need to play these at like a lower gain setting than you might want to. Let me show you, for example, here. I feel like the gain, like, it gets really grainy, I guess, and like thin a little bit, but it's something that I always notice with like that generation. And speaking of that generation, depending on where you look for your information on these amplifiers, a lot of people say that like the Vetta 1 was based off of like the XT amp algorithms, and then the Vetta 2 is based off like the HD generation of algorithms. I don't know, I can't confirm or deny those things. I just thought that that was sort of interesting. And even when I was researching this amplifier for like the little voiceover portion of this video, it was saying that they redid the algorithms for this amplifier, so it's not the same. That could just be marketing too, who knows? Let's go through a few of the different amplifiers here before we wrap this up. I might as well just show you the effects too. Like, you know, we do have built-in effects here, like we have delay and reverb. You know, they sound good. I mean, they sound kind of like what you would expect 𝗦6 effects to sound like, to be honest with you. I don't think I've ever tried a 𝗦6 product that had bad effects in it, you know? So, you know, not really what I'm here to talk about or demonstrate. Let's try some different tone options here. We'll just focus on one amp at a time, and then maybe we'll try combining a couple others at the end here. If you guys are familiar with the 𝗦6 series and remember any of these, 𝗦6 had some really interesting amp models back in the day. I mean, they still do, but. You know, that's some pretty brutal stuff, and this is the spinal puppet. Let's actually use this. It's like a very rectifier, but like almost HM2-esque sort of sound. Pretty brutal, dude. Let's add something in that's like a little bit more mid-focused, that'll give us some clarity. See if we can blend those things together. We'll go amp 2 here, we'll turn amp 1 off. Let's go back to that JT45. Let's see if this works. So you can see, it's really interesting how you can blend amps together, and it really just like adds a fun factor, you know, to dialing in tones. By today's standards, you know, it's maybe not holding up like something, you know, like the Axe effects, or even like the Helix for that matter. I'm sure that you could get some more versatility out of like the Helix with a really powerful power amp on it. But this just has a really cool place in history with Line 6 and just like the head shell and, you know, it looking like an amplifier and everything, as opposed to having like a rack with a Helix and a power amp in it or something like that. You know what I mean? I just think this is really cool. It's something that I wish Line 6 would do again, which, you know, probably they won't, I wouldn't imagine. But like, you know, if I had my way, they'd do it again. All right, what do you guys think about the Vetta series of amplifiers? Did any of you own these? Do you have any experiences with them, good or bad? Let me know down in the comments below. As always, if you like this video, make sure to hit the like button, consider subscribing. If you really like what I do here, consider joining my patrons or my members, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, guys.